Archbishop Victoria Harr. Thanks for joining
Hello.
us. Good to see you again.
Super excited to be here.
Excited to have you. Um, so I can't relate to what it's like being a woman, just like it would be difficult for a woman to relate what it's like to be a man. So I suppose today's topic we're speaking to women, not just what it's like to be a man, but certainly what it's not like, and maybe even dispelling some of the misconceptions that women might have about the difficulty of being a man.
Exactly.
Um,
The one thing that I want to bring to the table right now is we are not against women and we're not against men. So we're just showing you the aspects of what it's like to be a man.
yeah, and I guess there's
Because,
a special term for what it's like. Being against women is called misogyny,
yeah.
right? I don't know what the term is for being against bears, but I'd closer identify with that. And
Let's identify that bear.
yeah, I'm not against women as much as I'm against being around bears, but I suppose it depends on what kind of woman. They
Let's
make it
address the
interesting.
bear in the room.
Addressing the bear in the room. Yeah, hopefully the bear's not in the room. But
Good point.
yeah, this woman here, one of the women they're speaking to here on this podcast, from whatever, she does make a good point about knowing what to expect from bears. Let's have a listen.
Would you rather come across a random man or a random bear in the woods?
A bear.
Okay, so bear. I'd like to hear the reasons why, starting with you.
Okay, so first things first, bears act strictly off of instinct. So usually if they attack, they're probably threatened. Human beings, we have the ability to critically and logically think. We also tend to have a moral compass. So anything a human does is significantly worse. I am much more easily going to forgive a bear for mauling a human being than I will a man for hitting a woman.
So this is a topic of forgiveness. I suppose she has a good point. You know, like it's easier to accept the moral precepts behind a bear mauling you than someone of the opposite gender being a threat to you.
But let's be fair. That man in the wood is probably just a random guy that lives in his cabin out in the woods.
Yeah.
Like, most of the time, that's how a man likes to live. Out in the woods, have a few dogs, a wife.
Right. It would seem like his natural element too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's flip that around. If there's a woman out in the woods by herself, I would feel threatened by that.
That's a totally...
Have we even thought about this fact yet?
I haven't, actually. But now that you bring it up, I would be kind of worried about why is there just one random single woman out in the woods.
Yeah, maybe she's suicidal. I don't know. Like, Boo Boo should be concerned for her well-being.
Yeah.
And if she approaches us, we should definitely make sure she's not armed.
Yeah, like, can you just say, can you turn around and put your hands above your head? Let me check you out. Make sure you ain't got no bruises.
Keep your distance. Keep your distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's a bear over there, you can make friends with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, be careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just a random man in the woods.
Well, this is the type of woman here that would be in the woods by herself, apparently. So let's listen a bit more about that personality type.
Men are more dangerous because
Men are
we
more
have
dangerous than
we
bears?
have a moral compass. We know it's wrong, but people still do it.
Right, but this is assuming that in both instances, this is doing a comparison where the man attacks the woman and the bear attacks the woman.
Danger-wise?
This is assuming that in all scenarios, this woman is going to be attacked.
Again, I would forgive the bear a lot easier than I would forgive
But
the human.
what does that have anything to do with making a risk assessment of which one is more likely to attack you? Because that is essentially what this question begs.
I guess, I don't know, you're in the forest.
Well, hold
so
on. Let me
they can
get
do
everybody's
anything.
justification before I give.
So they didn't really specify that, like, you know, which is more likely to attack you. No, they just asked people, which would you prefer? You know? And
Which one would you rather be mauled by?
yeah, nobody actually asked that. He like specifies that later, but this is still in people's minds. Like, I'd rather be around a bear than
A bear
man.
that's. I'd rather be around a bear than a man that's likely to, in their minds,
Yeah.
kill them.
I love the fact that earlier she was saying something like, I would forgive a bear for eating me or
She
something.
probably wouldn't get the chance.
Well, you know,
'Cause-
as if the bear needed her forgiveness, you know? Like,
The bear
oh, it's
don't
okay.
care. The bear's just trying to protect itself.
The bear's going to stop while it's eating her and say, are you okay? Is this okay? Are we doing the right thing here?
Here, just let me swipe your face a little bit. Respectfully.
Swipe left.
Swipe left. Like a Tinder date.
Yeah.
Nope.
Give my take. So, why bear?
I don't know, you're in the forest, and like,
Okay.
people can behave. Is that's a setting, or am I wrong?
So, I think
I don't know.
yes, you are in the forest.
Okay.
But I'm confused.
Whatever.
What,
I'm assuming I wouldn't see a bear in my house or anything like that. Like, I don't know. Like, if it's more secluded, then I would probably buy the bear more. I don't know. Does that?
I don't know. Well, so
Well,
if we're going to make
let's-
considerations, if we're making considerations for where we're going to see the bear, who are the type of men you're generally going to see in the forest? Dudes who are just going camping, kind of like want to ignore society. Like, they're kind of just chill guys
Not all of
doing
them.
bro stuff. Like, if you're going to run across a guy in the forest, it's probably going to be a dude that's kind of just a normal guy. So if we're going to make those considerations for the bear, we should make those considerations for the guys.
I
Why-
agree with
why
that
the bear?
part, I will say.
For the past 2 months, I already had my weird, creepy, not good things with men, and I rather trust the bear right now over men.
okay, so you had
Thank you.
bad personal experiences in your own life.
Yes.
Ergo, you'd rather be in a forest alone with a bear versus a man.
Yes.
Okay. All
Brian,
right.
I've actually changed my opinion on
Does
this.
that not?
What's your opinion?
My opinion is I totally side with the bear now. Because
What?
I will tell you why.
All right, let's hear.
Okay. The bear is satisfied with a good meal. The woman gets to accurately play the victim. And the man has there's no ill will on his side. Nothing happened. He's not blamed for any of it.
I'd rather be food
Everyone
for the bear
wins.
than-
Everyone wins.
Okay, so
There's a flaw in your logic.
Okay.
I'd rather be
Tell me,
food
tell me.
for the
Hang
bear.
on, I'll tell you the flaw.
Okay.
The flaw is that after all of the bitching, whining, and screaming from this woman who was mauled by a bear due to her own stupidity,
Okay.
some man's going to have to go out there
Fair.
and put the bear down.
Fair. You're right, Andrew.
But the
Again.
bear already got me.
So I just spent the last like 4 days up in Keene Canyon in Sequoia. And yes, I was hiking out with bears. And I was at a river and I went swimming and there was a bear like 50 yards away. It was a mom with her cub. They left me alone. I left them alone. I went swimming in the river. I took a nap on a rock. I woke up and they were gone. But when you see a man on a trail, you go like,
Tempting fate.
you completely ignore them and dodge them. on
Okay,
the
so
trail.
hold on. So
Why?
let's just say you did that, right? Did the man chase you down and then attack you?
No, but you tend to.
Okay, but so you
likely
did. You took
to.
an action, like you took an action, but it doesn't mean that like nothing happened.
Yeah.
But-
You ignored
but-
him like
like
you
if
did
But
I-
the
the
bear?
point is that you don't know what that person's thinking, right? When you sit
You don't
there
know
and
what-
you pass the bear in the woods.
But the bear's
You don't know what the
morally
bear's thinking.
predictable.
No, you pass the bear in the woods. The bear is predictable because it acts off of instinct. Humans can sit there and they can pass you, and then they can come behind you and like pop you in the head or whatever the fuck.
Well, then let me ask you a question, just to, because you can predict bear behavior, and you're obviously very skilled at the prediction of bear behavior. If you were to, do you think, walk up to 50 random men and pat them on the head, or 50 random bears and pat them on the head, which one do you think would be more likely to fucking maul you to death?
The bear. That makes it predictable.
Hold on.
That's a completely
Question for
different
you.
situation. It's not in its natural habitat.
What do you mean? It's
But
in the
still-
no, you
it's
can do it
still
in their
a
natural
bear, and
habitat.
it's
You
still
walk right over
predictable.
and you just go and pat it on its fucking head.
I'm gonna dodge both the bear and the man.
The man's in his natural
My
habitat.
point is
when
that
you walk
human
over and
beings
pat
are
him
more
on the head.
dangerous than bears.
Okay,
You
so
didn't answer
let's
his
try this
question.
again.
You didn't answer his
You would
question.
agree. You would agree that men are in their natural habitat. If you find one in a city or you find one in the country, they're in their
As
natural
she
habitat.
loses this argument,
And if you walk
like,
over and you were to pat just random,
like
on the
clearly
head
they're just going to keep going on
versus
this. But
random
as she
bears on
loses
the
this
head,
argument, you could see
which one do you
her
think would be more
like
likely to viciously attack you and
just so
kill
she
you?
could stick to her
Probably
original
the bear,
answer.
but that's why you.
She's going to come to the
that's why
point
you
where
don't
she's
be
like
stupid.
expressing
Because you
that she'd
know
rather
the
die
It would be
than
pretty
be near a
stupid
man.
to take a gamble with a bear, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
You seem like you'd be far more comfortable patting
Sounds
random
like
men.
gamble with
Touching
life.
random men
Yeah.
without their permission seems to be well within your comfort level as opposed to touching random bears. right?
Comfortability and
You
predictability is
just- you
different,
don't
though.
bother a bear the way you bother men.
No,
But-
yeah, I get
What?
where you're going.
if
with
you don't
this,
wanna
but it's
bother
more
the
about,
man
like,
at
I
all?
think you're trying to say they're just
He's just going
more
about his way.
predictable.
That's
like,
yes. I'm saying
I
Just like the
wouldn't
bear.
know
The bear
because
just
any
going
animal has
going about his
Absolute
day.
instinct. It's easy to predict their next move. Human beings, you can't predict their next move.
I do appreciate that
Not
she's
just
trying to
men. I wouldn't even
rationalize
say
her
that about just
position,
men, but
You're gonna
like,
predict
like
the moves of a wild
but
bear, really?
it's
Yeah, that's-
irrational.
I mean, I'm
More
an
And-
outdoorsman as well. I'm a hunter. I spend a lot.
Yeah,
of time
unfortunately, she
outdoors.
does lose
I
the
gotta push
argument
back on
in the
this a
end.
little
I
bit.
don't think we're.
Like, bears, yeah.
They can manipulate.
I'd like
you
to fast
into
forward
thinking
if
that
I
they
can.
might eat you and then they
So,
won't,
is that all right with you?
Bears
Let's
are very
Yeah.
jump forward on that one.
They are simple. It is either
See how
I'm
she
going to
loses this
kill you-
argument and what she
You're walking
resorts
through
to.
the forest, and you can see one of. Help me.
Yeah, I would trust in a man more than I would trust in a woman.
Okay.
Damn.
I'm a firm believer. If you can't get out of the woods by yourself, you don't deserve to get out of the woods.
It's not really the question, but
Fair enough.
I mean,
They're
you could
talking
even.
about. They're
you-
talking about a man helping them.
I mean,
No,
look, but
I
you
mean,
could
that's-
even-
That's how I
no,
view it. Yeah, if I was in the woods, how
That's
I
it.
kind of view it is
That's the
that.
point
Wait,
she's trying to make, really.
now,
That's
are
what's
you one of
the
those
core
people
of this
who would be able
issue.
to get out of the woods yourself?
Yeah, I just spent the last 4.
She just doesn't want a man's help. She doesn't want to interact with men if she doesn't have to, and even if she does have to, she's going to deny it.
Dude, if I was stranded in the forest and the only thing I have is a man and a bear, I'm gonna choose the man because a man knows more survival instincts more than a bear.
It's within our nature. It's our natural element to want to take care of a woman. So we're actually the safest possible option on the entire planet. Find a man you can trust, and you can trust him with your life.
I'm on team man. What about the audience? Are you team man or team bear?
If you can't survive in the woods by yourself, you probably shouldn't make it out alive. What kind of craziness is that? If you
That's-
can't survive in the woods by yourself, then don't go in the woods by yourself. Right?
But see, there's a flip side to that. What if you were just hiking on a hiking trail,
You know.
a designated hiking trail, you get sidetracked,
Okay.
and on the right side you see the bear. On the left side you see a man.
Uh-huh.
Which one are you going to pick to help you out of the woods?
The
You
fact that this even is a dilemma for some people to decide it's amazing.
Again, team bear or team man?
Yeah, yeah, definitely the other man. Even as a man, I would choose, like, if there was a bear, I would approach the man and think strength in numbers, right? We have a better chance of survival together fighting off this bear if we need to. Of course, I'm not going to run towards the man because I know that running away from a bear is probably not a good idea. But,
Yeah.
you know, I'd probably back away from the bear towards the man and I'd be like, "Hey, let's both go that way together." And the bear would see us together and be like, "Probably don't want to mess with those two dudes right there."
And most of the time, if you're not near, like, if you're yards and feet and whatever unit of measurement you use away from that bear, most of the time the bear will just look at you, make sure that you're not coming towards them, and then turn the other way.
Depends on the type of bear. Like
Oh yeah, that's true.
black bears can be more curious and aggressive.
Yeah,
And
you got a good point there.
yeah, and it also depends on the environment, the time of the year, um, even your own personal odors. Like if you like a woman is if they're menstruating, could be more enticing or even threatening to the bear, depending on their gender and the time of the
That's
month that it
true.
would be for that female bear, if at all. If cubs are around,
Oh, that's a good point.
yeah.
Don't mess with mama.
Even the act of being like simply your positioning, if you're between a mother and the cubs, you're already considered a threat just being between them. So if you're anywhere around bear cubs, best to get away from them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's difficult to be aware of your surroundings sometimes. I know that like what I was taught when I go around corners on trails is to make a lot of noise so that anything that's around that corner will know that you're coming and you don't surprise it.
Oh, and make sure to watch out for snakes.
Yeah, maybe that's the next conversation. A man or a snake?
Man versus snake. Snakes are the really unpredictable ones.
Yeah, so women clearly they don't, most women, I shouldn't even say most women, I can't even say that. A lot of women in today's Western societies are disconnected from reality. That reality isn't just between man and bear, which of course I'm not going to expect a woman who really doesn't know that much about zoology to understand those factors. But even the world that they live in, they seem to disconnected from reality. And I'm talking about like the dating world, for example. And women seem to think that men have it very easy dating women. But I think that that's like based on their experience, the type of men that they're dating.
It's the opposite, actually.
Yeah, they're not really thinking about the average man. Just like when they consider the average man and how easy it is to get a job or keep a job.
Oh, that's the most difficult reality that women will never. I mean, not all, but a lot of women don't realize how hard a man has it.
Well, women, what they do most of the time is they'll look at the men that they're interacting with. Just the same, anybody would look at the people they're interacting with, and those are the you would think are the average person in that regard. But a lot of women in the world today, the men that they're interacting with are men that are much higher tier on the scale of like 1 to 10 in terms of value, the value of like a valuable man. Like if a woman is, let's say, a 6 or 7, just saying like maybe that's the average number in terms of their value, they're probably dating men that are on a scale of like 8 and above. They're not even dating on the same level as them. They're dating above. So they're comparing how easy it is for a man to date and how easy it is for a man to keep a job and how easy life is in general for the man that they're looking at. Yeah. So they're looking at fit guys who are over 6 foot tall, probably have a good income, or, just exceedingly high in at least one or two of those factors.
Yeah.
But those aren't the average guys.
No, most guys are just trying to make a living with McDonald's or Pizza Hut or...
Yeah, or a regular construction job.
Oh, construction.
Yeah. That's actually like the average job for a man is as a laborer in a construction workforce.
Yeah, they make good money, but
blue collar
most
jobs.
women want those high paying jobs like real estate owners that have like 6 figures.
Mm-hmm. And if somebody has that kind of income, then a lot of a lot of parts of life would be easier for them, including dating. They would probably have a lot of opportunities to date the opposite sex.
The only thing that I have to say about that, though, is a lot of men like that want a true woman, but often they get gold diggers.
Yeah. And they also get these women who end up having this disfigured idea of what an ideal man is, that accepts them for who they are and that would take them seriously. But they're really confused by the way that men treat them, because men will just date them and have sex with them and then be done with them and move on. And unfortunately, this is the way it is for people that have a lot of options. They pursue those options. And women seem to be confused by the biological need that a man has to have sex, and that they're balancing this need with the dating pool availability to them.
Yeah.
And so they're looking at these high value men that treat them as though they are low value, but they don't believe that they're low value because they don't understand that that's the way that they're being treated.
Right.
And so they think that they're worthy of these high value men, that they themselves are high value in return. But the reality is that they're not. And they probably should be dating down if they want to keep a man.
That is very true. But most women don't think about that. They want what they want.
So this video, there's a lot of examples like that, and I think we can show that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if I was a man, I would be the biggest slut ever.
No, you would not, because this would be you. Here's a still image from your video, and here's you as a male.
I would get the mullet haircut.
As depicted here.
I would get the slutty little mustache.
Let's see if that helps.
I would do the day in the life videos and start off in my boxers. And
I'm gonna stop you right there. She's imagining that if she was a man, she would be the kind of man that she looks at on her phone. Women of many qualities are always in demand. So they imagine if I was a man, I would be in demand. And then they think, how do I feel about men who are in my demand? And then they make up stories about how easy life would be. Life is not easy for this man. He's not getting any views on his boxer shorts day in the life story.
oh my god, like they have it so easy and they do it every time.
Remember, when they say they have it easy, they mean them, not you and me. Men have it so easy. Now,
yeah, it's like everybody who's like average man is just not even considered a human being. Like they're not at all. Like they don't exist.
I love how he puts not people and points down.
Yeah, just blanks them out completely.
Like they don't exist. Sorry.
Yeah, their opinions, their life, everything they go through, it doesn't matter. We're only looking at the top value men here.
Just apply that.
The wealthy.
Say what?
The wealthy ones.
Yeah, the wealthy ones, the attractive ones, the fit ones.
The ones you find on the beach.
Mm-hmm. And they have to be over 6 foot.
Yeah. Maybe
Same principle to economics and the workforce. Men have it so easy. Not these ones, these men. These men have it so easy. And that's why men need to be last in line for jobs. Men. And now you understand the situation. Are you
I'm sorry. Let me switch the screen here so people can see this absolute look of confusion on these women's faces here. Just totally baffled by this concept.
Like, what?
Like, really? Is it?
Is that really how it is?
Yeah, that's not, but they're not people. That's right.
having a hard time? Well, that doesn't matter because men have it so easy, these ones. And that's what they mean by equality. You can do more and
this one over here
less,
taking a selfie.
But it doesn't matter because
these ones over
men
here on their
have
phones
it easy.
talking
Quiet,
about
you.
the
I do a helicopter with my
napkins for the cake.
every morning.
Okay, so
this one, we're talking about doing a helicopter with her genitals if she was a man, every morning has nothing to do with what they were just talking about. And all of a sudden these women become suddenly engaged in the conversation. Like, yeah, that's funny. But
I don't think they knew that they were on camera while that video was going.
Completely irrelevant. I don't even think they're aware of themselves at any point in time. There might be, like, this woman right here. I don't know. She seems like she's kind of disappointed with the women that she's around right now.
The one next to the redhead's like,
Yeah, this one's just...
I've got my shit together. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I don't know. I wish they would let these women talk and we could find out what's really going on in those empty shells of skulls that they have.
Whenever we ask women, so they did an experiment where they took average-looking guys and then gave the Tinder profiles
Maybe
to
there's a
women.
reason he
And how
doesn't
do you
let
think the
them
women
talk.
did as far as picking up other women?
Horrible.
Abjectly horrible. They were incredibly bad because when women had to actually go out and pursue, they had no concept of manufacturing attraction whatsoever. And whenever you ask women, hey, what would you be like as a man? They're like, they all presume they're going to be 6'3" and good looking. And the reality is that is not how the genetic distribution works. But anybody have anything else you want to say about this? Guys, whenever women take over male dating accounts, it's disasters. And there was one lady who actually went and pretended to be a man for several years and saw how horrible it was for men and then took her own life. Okay? When she saw how horrible it is for men.
Took her own life?
Yes, she took her own life.
Oh my God.
Okay, so this is a long time ago. It was more like 20 years ago. In these situations, when you see this, I just don't think women understand. It's not like, I'm not talking about me. I live on the Strip. I have an awesome girlfriend and I make a good living. I'm talking about guys who like are day laborers out in South Texas. I'm talking about dudes who like work up in Wyoming on an oil rig and just are lucky to get home alive. Like when you realize the majority of men are making like 51,000 or less. That the average man in the United States is like 5'9", and you listen to what women say they want. There's this massive disconnect, and so there's this huge group of men that are left behind. And so when women say this, they're like, well, when I become a man, of course you're going to be a NBA small forward with a huge who makes $100 million a year. That's what you
helicopter
think.
with,
But it's not. But it's not like that. Like it's like a lot of guys can't do the helicopter. Sorry, Bree. What if you became men and there was no helicopter for you? What happens there?
Just try harder. I go to the med spa.
The med spa. Yeah. Actually, why don't we do the AI influencer one? Because that's perfect.
Okay.
That's a perfect segue
The first
into this
one, and then the second one.
Yeah, we'll look at both of them. Let's look at it, guys. I want you guys to look up at the screen, especially those of you who have only or friends with OnlyFans. Want to watch this one? Go ahead.
Yes, this will be very educational.
AI-generated influencers on TikTok are the target of a petition signed by over 12,000 parents. I'll explain. In an online petition addressed to TikTok CEO Xiao Chu, the parents say AI-generated influencers are contributing to the unrealistic beauty standards children see online. Sponsored by Parents Together, a non-profit organization that advocates
Yeah, so AI is not the threat to women's body image. In fact, the threat to women's body image has already been in place for over a generation. It's been promoted through popular media.
TikTok has required users to label content that is AI generated accordingly, but the concerned parents say it's
I wish my body was like that.
Yeah, they've got surgeries available for people now that can do that, and it's
on billboards like constantly.
And AI doesn't just generate made-up women. It does do that, but it also automatically does Photoshop for people on videos now, not just pictures.
Now there's body dysmorphia because all of a sudden these
body
influencers have
dysmorphia
bodies that are not realistic. So now, like you said before, like again, anybody want to guess what state in the union has the most women with breast implants? Anybody?
Florida.
California. I was going to say
Florida.
California.
It's a trick question. What California.
California.
Where were they invented?
Vegas.
Anyone know?
Cali.
They were invented at the Southwest Texas Medical Center in Houston, Texas, in 1974.
The biggest medical center in the world?
Yes, that's where the first time that you guys can watch the movie Breast Man. And I grew up in Texas. I grew up in Texas.
All the women in Texas, but the boobs in Texas don't look fake.
Right, but they're just really good boob jobs. But
They're
there's
really
a lot.
good.
Yeah, the most boob jobs per capita is actually San Antonio. Now, here's the funny thing. I grew up in Texas, and I'm very comfortable with girls with boob jobs. Extremely. In fact, I haven't dated a girl without a boob job in like years. And so that's something that you get comfortable with, right? My belief about what women's shape looks like came from the fact that I grew up around that kind of environment, okay? Now, the thing is here, when we see this, there's two issues. Number one, you say that your young child, or
Yeah, my son.
your son grew up around models and said this girl's too unattractive, and he's saying this at 12 years old,
Yeah.
right? That's the first problem. And the second problem is if you have an you're about to get place. You might want to take a look. There's going to be a problem because a lot of these influencers are making so much money. Can you play the second one?
This is a follow-up right here.
This Instagram model isn't real. Her entire Instagram account is generated with AI. This is the owner of the account, and he's bringing in $10,000 a month doing this. He's doing this with brand deals that feature her, and they know that she's AI.
So AI is
She's getting engagement.
is only part
she's
of it.
making sales.
Women
The guy
are
who invented
being
this
replaced by
account said he did
robots
this
too.
because he got sick of dealing
Sex
with
robots.
models and their demands.
And
I gotta say, this is impressive.
AI
Like, don't think you're
isn't
bad,
just
but I don't
replacing
think it's the
women
most
on
ethical. I mean, it works
images
for
and
him and it works
videos,
for
but also
companies.
with
But what about the people who
conversations.
actually
Men
do this
have
for a
conversations
living?
with
The entertainment industry is known
with
for
AI
treating their people like
to replace their social interactions.
You know, if it's an AI product, they don't know any different.
And
I feel like
women
these,
are
like, crazy
doing the
demands
same
that
thing.
these influencers have
And
might
so
not be that crazy.
human
actually.
relationships
they might
are
be
just
crazy, some of them, but not all
being
of them.
replaced
And
by a
something
digital
similar
world.
to this is actually the whole reason why the actors are on strike.
And it's not the
just
tools
wild
itself
he
that are the
found a
problem.
way to
It's
take
the fact that
models out of modeling.
people
And this
aren't
begs the question,
mending
what's
these
next?
broken
He's not a
relationships
manager,
with each
he
other.
is the product, so he gets to keep all of the profit. It's a little sad because say what you want about influencers.
I can say the divorce rate has gone way up now. Way up. The divorce rate of today's world is astronomical.
And people would just work on resolving their differences and appreciating what they do have in their life, what's available to them in their life, and stop being so envious of what they can't have and who they can't have.
I can put that more into perspective. So I couldn't use this video because it's one of the skits of Darman videos. But in the video, there's a woman that sees this Instagram couple, and she wants so bad for her man to be like that. She wants her man to be TikTok famous and all this stuff, and she forces him to go to a, I don't know what you call it, a meetup or something with this couple. And come to find out that couple isn't doing well at all. So she goes into the bathroom where this woman is crying because her man cheated on her for God knows what. But she says, my man's not the best man. He's cruel. He cheats on me. He does this. And this woman's like, yeah, I know how you feel. My man's just the worst. And I wish that I was like you guys. But she comes to realize at the end of the video that her man was perfect for her. He sends her lovey-dovey texts every day while he's at work. He brings home the food that he cooks sometimes because he works in fast food. He even goes as far as having a race so he can get his woman the dream kitchen that she wanted. And she blew it off at first, and now she's like, holy crap, my man is... I should have been more grateful for my man.
Did she have a change of heart? Like while they were together?
Oh, yeah.
Well, good for her. And good for him, too. I hope that worked out. Most of the time, you would see the opposite. I mean, women would build up this image of what is the ideal man contrary to what they have or what they have available to them based on brief experiences, even if it's not their own, or even just images like what they were seeing online. and build up this image in their mind that this is how things should be.
I might can put that also into a ball of information. So, when I was growing up, a lot of my parents, because I was adopted, would ask, "What does he do? What's his intentions? What's he do for a living?" So, some of it has to do with their parents and how they were raised.
Right.
How you're raised turns out, like that guy was saying, he grew up around people with boob jobs. So that was how he expected women to be. How you grow up has a lot to do with how you are. So, I mean, you can't blame it totally on your parents, but most of it you can.
So, really, we can't completely save our society in just one generation. It's going to take a while.
It's going to take many generations to fix this problem. We've got to basically breed out the ignorance.
And this is one of the obvious reasons why the 144,000 has to be saved and kept isolated from people in today's society.
Yep. Nowadays, we have what's called a fatherless society. And it's dangerous. A woman raising another man, I don't agree with it. I agree that a family should be a man and a woman. And that's not to hate on gay, bi, les people.
Yeah.
I don't hate them. I just think that both sexes, whether you're male or female, needs to grow up in a father and a mother.
Yeah.
Or at least have a man and a woman in their life.
Yeah, and loyalty is a really big factor there. We might, I can just express from personal experience that even if a man messes up and let's say he cheats, or let's say he has some kind of run-in with the law and he ends up being separated from the family in some capacity, I think it's really important for couples to stay together for the sake of the children, even if they're not happy with how things are going in their relationship, that they should do their best to find ways to come to terms and mend whatever's broken in their relationship for the sake of the children, so that they can teach their kids good conflict resolution and love and forgiveness and all these virtues that their children are supposed to learn from their mother and their father both.
Yes.
And so that they can learn what it's like and how to mend their relationships in the future if it comes to that. But to teach a child that the solution is to leave your partner, to abandon them, you're also teaching your child that it's okay for them to abandon the people that they love, including their own children, when they get old enough to have them. To abandon their friends, to abandon people that rely on them for whatever. If the going gets tough, it's time to leave.
You know,
It's
growing up,
true.
My adopted parents stayed together for 51 years before they passed away. They raised me, even though times got tough. We had 1 year that we didn't have much money to survive on.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow we made it through that.
Yeah.
And when family sticks together and the mom and the dad both are in the family, people turn out to be much more successful.
And also, children can break the following in their parents' footsteps dynamic. They can break that cycle much more easily when both parents stick together because they can see the cause of the problem and how to resolve it. They can see the solution present itself almost on a daily basis. You can see this a lot in cultures where couples aren't allowed to separate. You'll see that family dynamic that kids don't always follow in their father's footsteps, even if they're a drug addict, because they see that pain that it causes the family to be around that. They're not isolated or separated from it anymore. They're with it almost on a daily basis. They see the repercussions of these actions from their father or their mother, but the mother or father, they don't break up. They might spend some time apart because of something like the law interfering with the relationship. But the mother doesn't go find another boyfriend or another husband just because they're put in jail. No, they wait for them to get out. And when they come out, they're with the family again. And the best way for a person to reform when coming out of prison is to have people that they care about and people that care about them to help them back on the right track.
You know what? I have a rule for all of the couples out there. Never go to bed angry. That will be your best key in life. If it takes all night to talk to your partner and work stuff out, it will do much better than you going to bed angry and waking up and feeling that same anger, if not more. Me and my husband have been together 10 years, and from what I believe, we're doing pretty good. And
excuse me. So I have a question for you. During the tough times, and none of us are immune to tough times. They happen. But during those tough times in your relationship, I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about this. Feel free to decline if you're not comfortable talking about it. But in those tough times in your relationship, do you feel, it's okay to say yes if you do, but do you feel like sometimes you just want to run away, you just want to get away from a situation?
No. Because I'll tell you why. If my mom and dad, it goes back to how I was raised. And whether you have children or not, in my firm belief, you have one partner that you're bound to. And the reason for that is when you have multiple partners, you learn that it doesn't work.
Right.
Never works.
When you think that you have options, then you end up pursuing those options.
But see, when you don't think you have options, you think about that one partner and that one love of your life. And Mikey is my love of my life. I love him to death. He's everything in a man that I personally want. But in the tough times, we will stay up for hours working stuff out.
It's really good.
And I never want to lose him if I ever lost him. And I'm pretty sure I won't. Because we have that strong kind of relationship.
So what advice would you give somebody if they didn't have that? If they weren't able to work things out with their partner, like what should they do?
Well, it's always situational. Like, if you're in an abusive relationship, like truly abusive, or the guy or the woman, because it can go both ways. If you're in a shit situation where you're being abused and treated poorly, and I don't mean these women or men that say, oh, my partner was so bad, yada yada. I mean the people that really actually have it bad.
Sure.
Then I would say leave. But
that's like you're jumping way ahead there, right? What about the time in between? Like, how do you find out if it's irreparable?
That's a hard question because.
I mean, I've got an answer to it. I was wondering if you know, if you'd encountered this difficulty with Mikey, for example. I know that Mikey's a great guy. I know him too. Probably not as well as you do. I don't think I want to know him like that. But no offense.
Well, don't make me blush.
But I know that my personal dealings with people is if I feel like I can't work something out with somebody, just myself and them, then I try to find somebody who I think can help. And not to go talk to them for me, and not to just convince me of what I need to do, but
a mediator.
A mediator, yeah, to talk to both of us and to help us both see eye to eye from their perspective. And if one mediator doesn't work, then another, and another, and another, and more, and sometimes it takes a whole community to help work things out.
And that's a good point right there, community.
Mm-hmm.
Having a community that can grab your perspective plus their perspective and not be biased about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's also a good point right there. Because when you're fighting with your partner and all that you can think about is how mad you are about what XYZ situation, it tends to make it more difficult because you're biased, he's biased. He thinks he's right, she thinks she's right. So yeah, a mediator that's non-biased.
Yeah, well, there's always going to be...
Preferably not parents.
Yeah, we're
Parents
not robots. There's going to be some bias, but yeah, as less bias as possible. Hopefully, someone who's a good mediator is also a good judge. And perhaps they even know both parties well enough to help matters.
Like a friend of the family.
Yeah, or members of the family who, like, if you want both sides, like, have a mediator from both sides.
Yeah, that's because your parents know you better than you do.
Right, and your psychologist probably knows you better than they know your spouse.
Yeah.
Right? And this goes beyond romantic relationships. It goes to friendships. It goes to family dynamics too, like
leadership roles.
Yeah, in a workplace too. Mm-hmm. And typically you'll find that if one mediator doesn't work, that sometimes it's a mediator from each party. Like I would choose my mediator, they would choose theirs, and the representatives would help initiate the conversation, whereas the person whom they're representing can also interject and say how they're really feeling or what really happened or whatever from their perspective. But there could be like a said dynamic there that's restricted. Like if people are fighting with one another, this is what happens in the courtroom, for example. In a courtroom, the defense and the plaintiff, the defendant and the plaintiff, they're not allowed to address one another directly. They're only allowed to address the court and the judge, right? So there's no crosstalk between the two parties. They're addressing the mediator and only the mediator, right?
And if things get too rowdy, she stops it and starts
this way the conversation can be fact-checking, addressing the information, also addressing perspective, but not letting it get out of hand and become another argument spiraling out of control. Right. This is also why debates are controlled in such a way. Yeah. People shouldn't be directly addressing one another, lest it just become an argument.
Yeah.
But hopefully, people are mature enough that they don't need a mediator to help them realize how not to argue with one another. But it does happen, and if they need help resolving it, then we, as Christ's apostles and saints, need to be willing and able to provide that.
That's right.
For our people and for each other. And I guess the reason I asked you about this with Mikey is it's good to know that you have a way of resolving it between the two of you.
Yeah.
Not everyone would feel like they have that, and they should know that it's available to them.
Oh, of course.
Mm-hmm. And the solution is not running away.
No. It's not running away. It's not putting it on someone else's shoulders. It's helping out each other.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's also learning how to face the hardships, but not being alone in facing those hardships.
I can tell you the Christ apostles know a lot about hardships.
And facing them together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can say if I wouldn't have had you guys, I probably wouldn't have gotten through a lot of stuff I went through.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about with Mikey, I'm talking about everything.
I can relate. Unfortunately, there was somebody who they didn't have someone that could relate to their hardships, and they went through that experience. They were referenced earlier on this show. A woman that decided to become a man for a certain amount of time, and she experienced firsthand how difficult life can be for men, and she was very surprised at what she discovered.
She didn't have a support system.
No, she didn't. And she wasn't raised to be a man either, so she didn't really know what to expect. But let's have a listen to her testimony.
Nora thought the perfect end to her 18-month saga was to join a men-only therapy group, a place where guys tried to bond and show their emotions instead of hiding them.
They don't get to show the weakness. They don't get to show the affection, especially with each other. And so often all of their emotions are shown in rage.
And they kept talking about their rage, often their rage toward women and what they would do physically and violently towards women.
Right. A lot of this was blowing off steam. It's sort of talking about the things that need to be said that you know you would never do. I mean, you know, they would talk about fantasizing about chopping up their wives or something. It's not that they would ever do that, but it was a way to get out the blackest thoughts.
He doesn't like doing that work, but he can't quit.
Nora began to empathize with the fear and stress men feel for having to always be the strong provider. The therapy leader, psychologist John Gornishelli, saw Ned's shyness as typical of a newbie coming to brave the group.
A lot of the guys spoke to me after the retreat and said, talking to him, I felt like I was talking to somebody feminine.
Once again, some group members thought Ned was gay, but no one suspected he was a woman. After 8 sessions, the group went on a backcountry retreat, but Nora's 18 months of being an imposter was closing in on her.
The pressure of being someone that you're not and being the fear of discovery and the deceit that involves piles up and piles up. So by the time I got around to doing this men's group, it was really reaching critical mass.
On the retreat, her fear became palpable.
And I was out in the woods with a bunch of guys who have rage issues about women, and I was in drag, and I thought, oh God, you know, what am I doing?
Nora was unraveling. She felt guilty about lying, as though she should be punished. In the final ritual of the weekend, the men were to act out the problems unearthed at the retreat with a partner.
And you asked that he harm you.
Yeah, I did. At that point, I was starting to really kind of crack up. I was really...
You were coming unglued.
Yeah.
So you were asking this guy to cut you.
To cut me. So self-mutilation is very much a female thing, and I think it was my way of paying the penalty for what I felt I had done.
Nora was not harmed physically, but she continued her emotional descent, and a week later checked into a hospital with severe depression. Identity, she concluded, was not something to play around with.
When you mess around with that, you really mess around with something that you need that helps you to function. And I found out that gender lives in your brain, and it's something much more than costume. And I really learned that the hard way.
Nora says she's healed now and glad to be rid of Ned, but her views about men have changed forever.
Unfortunately, she was not completely healed and ended up unaliving herself soon after that interview. Apparently, it brought up old stuff that she had repressed and wasn't really dealing with.
This part's kind of a hard topic because I can only fathom how it feels like being a man. I can only slightly think about how it feels. Not being able to talk about emotions, not being able to talk about this, that, or the other. I hope our guys in our EOC doesn't feel like that. But if you do, just know that you guys have each other.
I can tell you this. I can relate to that woman in a lot of ways more than other men because I was raised by a woman. I was not raised by a father, and didn't have a father figure in my life until much later in life. And the desire to share emotions and those types of experiences with other people was always there. And the majority of my friends were women when I was a child. Growing up, they were girls. Like, I hung out with girls more than boys. And it wasn't that I was myself effeminate. It was just that I was raised to be around women and to relate to women. And being around boys was sort of like something foreign to me. And so I can relate to a lot to what she went through, but it was like growing up that way, in that there was two separate worlds. There was the world at home, and then there was the world like in society. And the world I was more comfortable with was the one at home. Was the safe place for me. It was usually being alone, going out in the woods. Fortunately, I didn't encounter any bears. But would I have been friends with the bears? Probably not. But I was friends with, like squirrels and trees and fish and, harmless things. And, my world was a world of pure fantasy. Like, I would escape. And growing up, video games became a thing too, world of escape. And a lot of men are escaping reality because they weren't taught how to cope with reality from strong men in their life. And so this is another one of the side effects of those relationship dynamics failing our children.
That brings a good point. You're talking about you was raised mainly with women. I'm the opposite. I had a mom, don't get me wrong. She was a great mother. But for me, I mainly grew up wanting to be around the boys. That was my thing. I had a nephew that I hang out with named Steven, and he had a sister, but she was much older, so I didn't really hang out with her as much, but we used to do a lot of things as kids. And when you grow up and most of the people you hang out with boys, well, you tend to learn how boys act.
Mm-hmm.
Then in my case, I grew up wanting to be like one of the boys all the time. So I'd be the girl that was dressed up in tomboy clothes, which is not bad per se, but I do wish I had a mom that would have been there a bit more, but she did what she could. She had a lot of health issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, you turned out all right.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I like being around you, and I'm sure a lot of our people feel the same.
Hanging around the guys is my favorite thing to do. You guys are so hilarious.
Yeah, I'd like to end this episode on a lighter note, and letting people know that there's hope, and that not all is lost. That there's a solution to whatever problems they're facing, whether it be with their personal relationships or even facing their past. And want to offer to everyone who's listening, who's watching, to offer our services to you, that we do more than just live streaming or creating sermons or doing our mission outreach. We do also offer counseling, and the Lord chose us for this very purpose.
Yeah, we never want to see one of our followers go down the wrong way. We want to uplift you. We want to be there for you. So if you're struggling, you need some help, we've got you.
Mm-hmm.
we'll be there for you
We're
as
here.
much as we can.
Thank you, sister. We're here to offer you wise counsel.
And if you like, we have a discipleship program if you want to learn more about the Christ, the King.
And we trust that you do. If you've been sitting here watching us for, it's been an hour now.
Oh, wow. Time flies.
You certainly have an interest. So join us again in the near future. God willing, we'll be on live here again. Feel free to reach out to us. And if we can make time to do this, certainly we can make time for you.
That's right. God bless you and protect you in the name of our Lord Rael. Amen.
Amen. Love God.
Love each other.
Love each other.